So if you want to hear more about the budget, come to the coffee chat, because that invariably comes up as one of the questions that staff and students ask. And the other thing that we'll see on the calendar tonight, one of the things that comes up in my coffee chats is safety a lot. And so one of the things that was asked is, are we doing safety audits of our school? So tonight the board will take action to vote to have a contract with the Sobel Group. The Sobel Group will do some safety audits at a few of our schools. The goal is not for them to do every school. The goal is we have professionals that we partner with the sheriff that do our own audits. And one of the things we're looking at is, do the audits we do internally match the audits that an independent expert would give us? If not, we can figure out why and we can go from there. But the goal would be, what are the independent experts saying about our schools and our baseline for safety? And how does that compare to what our our internal experts say? And we'll be able to compare those two and then make a plan for auditing all of our schools moving forward. So that's on the agenda tonight, and that's something that comes up. And they'll have done an elementary, a middle, and a high school. So we have the broad base of the district covered to help CUSD schools. And with that, that is the end of my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustees at this time, Trustee Davis.
Okay, thank you. I had an opportunity to attend many events over the last month, and we're doing great things. There are so many incredible things happening in CUSD. The Rising Star Celebration, BAM's Breaker Breakfast, the Spring Employee Open House. I wish we had more employees attend. Most of the trustees were there, and I wish we could have had more employees be there. We value you, we appreciate you. We know what you're doing each and every day, and would have liked to have that opportunity for kind of a one-on-one. So that was kind of a special time. We were able to attend the Avids, Trustee Bullicus and I last night, or Monday night, attended the Avid celebration for all of Orange County. And CUSD does an incredible job at Avid. And I look forward to a couple of other schools that are adding Avid coming this next year. All 5 of our students all received a big, A scholarship, and it was fabulous. President Castellanos and I were able to attend the Together for Teens last Saturday, and I love the partnership and being able to have those conversations with all the partners that we have, and great students. We had a great little team of students that had a panel at the end, and fabulous. Middle school football, flag football, a little shout out to what we've done this year in trying to bring some of those things and strengthen middle school. That's been one of the goals, and was able to attend the flag football competition for middle schools. We had a number of middle schools, not all of our middle schools were there, but a number of middle schools that were at Vista, and were able to compete against each other. Kind of like maybe some of you did when you were in middle school. I did, for sure. And so it was fun to hear some of the kids and their experience and what that was like for them, and some ways that we can do better next year. So lots of different ways. Got to spend a little time in at Del Obispo and reading with a couple of classes, and there's just excitement about learning. Our students are learning and growing, and I was grateful to be at a lot of events this last month. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other trustees? Trustee Bullicus.
Good evening. I have some shout outs tonight. I want to start off with our Superintendent Brown. I want to thank our superintendent for finding a reasonable way to give all families the ability to make their own decision that is best for their children as it relates to the 6th grade adolescent growth and development curriculum. Thank you so much. You can go ahead now. I also want to give a shout out. There's a lot of things on our agenda, and there is a particular company, I've mentioned it before, they consistently donate money to our schools. So I want to give a shout out again tonight to Pacific Life Foundation for donating just this month $30,000 to 8 different schools, both elementary and secondary, and for all kinds of different reasons. That's just wonderful. Also want to give a shout out on the agenda. We look at resignations and retirements and all. So Karen Keat, who has given 43 years to CUSD, I don't know where all she may have worked in the district. She's currently a paraeducator 4. And so I just want to say thank you for over 4 decades of dedication to our students and families and staff. Thank you, Karen Keat, wherever you are tonight. And then I want to, as trustee Davis mentioned, I want to shout out these names for Avid, those students, 6 of them or 5 of them. Genesis Gonzalez from Aliso Niguel High School was a senior standout. From Capistrano Valley High School, Mia Juarez. From Dana Hills High School, Jessica Barron. San Clemente High School, Yar Medina. And from San Juan Hills High School for Avid, Jacqueline Olivier. And it was a great night, and we've got pictures of them up on stage and getting their scholarships and all. And their principals were there, and it was really a night of celebration. And lastly, I've talked about this before. It's time to get your play tickets. I'm going Friday night to San Juan Hills High School because I'm going to see Crazy for You, which has music. It's a musical with George Gershwin for $15. Why go to Segerstrom? You have high schools around here that you can attend plays. And all the different high schools have their spring plays. So I really highly encourage you. This one, I'm told, is going to have close to 200 students participating between the actors, the technical crew, and the orchestra. So I can't wait. If it was anything like last year's Chicago, even half as good, it's going to be fabulous. That's my report for the night, and thanks for being with us.
Okay, any other trustees? No? Okay, I just want to make a few comments tonight. I did have the opportunity over the weekend to attend, like trustee Davis had mentioned, the Together for Teens, igniting your authenticity. It was on Saturday from 10 to 2, and it was brought to the district by the Wellness and Prevention Center, partnered with the healthcare agency. And I every time I go to one of these mental health forums, I think I learn something new. And there was something that really stuck with me. And so I thought I would share tonight. They had a keynote speaker that talked about the difference between physical health and mental health and how we as parents view them differently, and society does as well. As physical health with our own children, right? They get sick, they break a bone. We are immediately taking them to the hospital or to urgent care, or if it's a cold, we may wait a day or two, but we're definitely seeking care right away. And then she talked about mental health, and she talked about when the first symptom is onset with a child, how long do you think that it takes to seek treatment? And she asked the audience, and everybody had different opinions. I was thinking probably a long time, right? Years. I was like maybe a couple of years. The answer is actually 11 years. From the onset of the first symptom before treatment is actually given to the child or young adolescent. So that stuck with me, that's the reason why these forums exist. That's why the partnership is so important, because we're still learning as a society how to kind of deal with all of this mental health and how to help our youth and how to help us to understand it and to parent it, right? It's a different type of parenting and how we recognize those symptoms, and we can seek help for our children faster. So I just wanted to bring that information to you tonight, because that was very powerful for me as a parent. So anyway, those are my comments tonight, and I think we are moving on to our student board member, Tyler Pierce.
I do not have any comments.
You do not? Okay, thank you. All right, we are moving on to oral communications. The total time for oral communications is 20 minutes. Individual presentations are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per individual, but could be less if we have a larger number of speakers. Complaints regarding district employees should be addressed by completing the district's formal complaint form, which is available on the district website. Okay, Ms. Haynes, how many speakers do we have this evening?
We have 21 speakers tonight. The first
Here
one,
comes another one.
22, and the first one is a student.
Okay,
Would you
Yep.
like to go with
Yes.
a minute each
yes, we will. Yes, we are.
and hear them all current?
Yes, so yes, that's fine.
Okay, I'll begin by calling up our student and then the first 10 speakers, please line up and I'll recall your name so that we stay in the order that the cards were presented. Our first speaker, Fahima Karam, then Natalie Bucknam, Sally White, Joy Schnapper, Amy Baxter, Walt Baxter, Brenda, Pam, Tammy T, Stephanie, Judy, please line up, and then we'll call the next ones. Okay, I'm gonna reset the clock. It is 1 minute. It'll change as soon as I hit the button. Everybody ready to go? Here we go. Fahima, please go ahead.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is Fahima Karim, and I am a junior at Tesoro High School. I would first like to thank the Board of Trustees for all the work they do to ensure students' educational experiences are beneficial toward their futures. I had initially shared my proposal with Trustee Bullicus a few weeks ago and would like to share it with the rest of the board, as it is not an issue relevant to only one school, but to all schools in our district. Myopia, commonly known as nearsightedness, has been on the rise globally, and evidence suggests that increased exposure to natural daylight can help mitigate its occurrence. Studies conducted by increasing outdoor exposure for school-age children during the day have found the practice to be beneficial towards offsetting students' development of the condition. Since it is a condition that can impact a student for the rest of their life, I kindly recommend a pilot program in CUSD to allow students to be outdoors for about 90 to 120 minutes a day to ensure their vision and future be protected. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Natalie Bucknam. Go ahead, Natalie.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm the mother of an 8th grade student at Aliso Viejo Middle School. My daughter was a victim of bullying, sexual harassment, and cyberbullying. These are all criminal behaviors. I'll email the district. I found 9 so far laws that these children broke doing this to my daughter. 2 boys, one created a nude photo of her with AI. The other distributed it on school grounds. The whole school got to see it. The boy that distributed it came up to my daughter 2 different times and said he was going to, quote, jerk off to the picture that was being passed around the school of my 13-year-old 8th grade daughter. The school took over a month to investigate. And then after this found out that the students did in fact do this, they felt that expulsion was not necessary, but only a few days suspension. Although this happened at Beverly Hills Middle School, they decided that they were going to expel these students. I think every parent in this room should be very concerned that the district's decision to not expel these students has sent a message that it is okay to create child pornography, revenge porn
Thank
of your
you,
peers
Natalie. We have
with
to go
little
on
to no
the next
consequences.
Speaker, Sally White.
Superintendent Brown and trustees, my name is Sally White. I was last here almost 5 years ago to the day at the end of my 4 years of serving as the CUEA president. And I was retiring after 26 years in the district. At that time, I was here to thank the board for 4 wonderful, productive years of working together to solve problems in the district. I loved every minute of working with the staff here. It was a wonderful experience. But one of the things I told them that night was the thing I would not miss was having to come every single year and beg for a very teeny tiny pay raise. It was demeaning, it was disrespectful and unnecessary. Recruiting and retaining quality educators should be the #1 priorities of this district. The last thing you need right now is a trip down the path of impasse and mediation. It will undermine trust and tank morale even further. One of the things which makes this district unique is that about 75% of our teachers actually live in this district. They're completely invested in the community. Their children go to our schools, their grandchildren do. Many of the teachers are products of CUSD. Our teachers are seen on the soccer fields on the weekend because they live here. You need to pay your teachers. You have to retain and recruit.
Joy, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm at the podium for the 3rd time in recent months after rarely standing up here for 6 years to speak to you about the common values we share for our district, our schools, and our community. The intention is to start a dialogue I believe will bring us to an understanding that we want the same things for our outstanding public schools in CUSD. If we agree that our schools are excellent, which I hope we do, then the question becomes, how do we keep our schools excellent? If we agree we are first among equals as we look to other districts to and compare our decades of successes, then the question becomes, how do we secure our status at the top of that list? Finally, if we agree that a supportive climate and culture is critical for student success, the question becomes, how do we nurture those climates and cultures where amazing educational moments are a regular occurrence? Fair compensation is the cornerstone to bringing outstanding educators to this district and keeping them once they join our Capo family. Sadly, we've lost our way.
Our next speaker is Amy Baxter. Amy, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amy Baxter. I'm a San Clemente resident and CUSD parent. I would like to take a moment to thank Dr. Brown and his staff, who I don't really think get a lot of public thanks, for the last 2 months worth of reports presented at the February and March meetings. Recent board meetings have clearly illustrated the strengths and challenges present in CUSD. Reports have been data-driven, insightful, and informative. Thank you for covering issues facing the district and not manufactured crises brought by outside influences. To that end, it is even more important that we give thanks to the incredible teachers at CUSD who continue to rise to the challenges they face daily and prove with their professionalism, compassion, and integrity that we do indeed have the best teachers in the state. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Walt Baxter.
Hi, I'm Walt, a 26-year resident of San Clemente and a proud parent of a San Clemente High School alum. I just wanted to say I had a fantastic day last Friday. Went down to beautiful Siska Field to watch a baseball game between San Clemente High School and El Toro. The Tritons won 3-2. But more importantly, a couple things I wanted to point out to those of you who aren't skilled in the art of our public high school baseball teams. First of all, our kids work 10 months a year. This is not a one-season sport. It's very difficult, very time-consuming while doing your studies. Secondly, when you go and see your local high school baseball field, I want you to appreciate that parent volunteers like myself usually go out and cut the field, trim the edges, make the playing surface safe to play on. And so I just wanted to point out that for me, at least, my local high school, Siska Field, is a point of pride. And I wanted to thank Coach Dave Galali, the whole staff, and all the students that work hard at San Clemente High School. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brenda. Brenda, please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Anseni, and I serve as the PTA president at Don Juan Avila Elementary School, also known as DJs. Today, I have the privilege of highlighting something truly positive at our school, our incredible fundraiser success. This year, our fundraising efforts were centered around updating our technology in our classrooms. We set a goal of $45,000, and I'm excited to announce that not only did we meet it, but we surpassed it. This achievement speaks volumes about the incredible support we received from our families. They believed in our vision and trusted in us to make it happen. To express our gratitude, we will be hosting a thank you tea party on May 16th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. I invite each one of you to join us in celebrating and showing our appreciation for our wonderful DJs community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pam.
To all school board trustees, 5 truths as you ponder and preside over our public school families in this district. Truth 1, in creation, there were 2 sexes, male and female. Truth 2, our children and teens are vulnerable and are being bombarded by social media and groomers with an agenda. 5,000% increase in 5 years in transgenderism. Truth 3, very sadly, there's a profit of money to be made with the puberty blockers, surgeries, therapies, and lifetime care. Our profits at our precious children's expense. Our school district has 10,000 less students. Public schools are becoming less desirable for family values. Families, not government institutions, are the fundamental building blocks of our society. The rights of children should stay with the parents. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tammy. Tammy, please come forward.
Hello, I am a mother and I have kids within this district. The fundamental rights of parents, including but not limited to the right to direct the education, medical care, and moral upbringing of their children. I ask that you help strengthen and not limit parental involvement in decision-making and increase transparency and secure parental rights on all levels of education. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Stephanie.
Thank you for letting me speak today to your board. I'm speaking on a topic that we all relate to. Doesn't matter male, female, what ethnicity, what religion, it's hate. We've had a rise of hate incidents in our schools across Orange County. And specifically, I'm talking about anti-Semitism with regards to an increase in that since October 7th. We don't know where to put our heads as far as organizations going to help and parents reporting. My daughter also experienced herself, my youngest, the experience of anti-Semitism when she was in 6th grade. So it's always been there, but I'm not here just to bring awareness to it. And that's my goal, is to make sure the boards know, because I know often when a parent talks about it, it gets only to the principal. But I have a solution. The Holocaust Education Center in Orange County is a new small museum here that should be in every superintendent, and every school and middle school and high school
Thank
should
you,
be going
Stephanie.
to it.
I'll pass out your information to the leader. Our next speaker is Judy.
Hi. The number one priority for CUSD should be safety of our student. As Stephanie mentioned, anti-Semitism around the world and in our schools is on the rise. Research shows that organizations like, actually, SJP is a primary source of aggressive and hostile anti-Israel and anti-Semitic activity that occurs on our campuses. The Amchai initiative, and I'll send you a link to their research, shows a link between SJP and campus anti-Semitism. They're one of the best predictors. The existence of an SJP group on campus is one of the best predictors of anti-Semitism on a campus. You really need to disband the SJP group at Tesoro High School. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll call up the next 10 speakers. Erin Murray, Linda P., Eva Harrison, Jean, Mike Golini, Shireen Smith, Michelle Morgan, Lisa H., Linda, Susie Taylor, Amber Smith, and Tina Wine. Erin, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm a huge fan of this district. My kids at Ladera Elementary and Ladera Middle have had a phenomenal experience, and it's thanks largely to the educators that they've had. They've shared 3 teachers through elementary school. They've become parts of our family. One of them asked that we come and support the efforts of the teachers to receive a fair wage. Everybody who lives here knows that this is an incredibly difficult place to live. Even at a modest increase, it will become increasingly difficult for teachers to stay in this community. We have teachers who come and support our kids outside of school, and being in this community, staying close and being able to provide those services is incredibly important. It's the consistency. It's these teachers on the front lines that are providing the results that we enjoy so much that make this a valuable and attractive place to live. So I would ask that you afford the teachers the dignity that they deserve so they can continue to nurture our children. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Our next speaker is Linda. Linda P. I'm going to stay in order tonight. Thank you. Go ahead, Linda.
Oh, can you turn back the clock?
Okay, one more time.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Linda.
The transgender movement is an agenda promoting the mutilation of children under the banner of gender affirming care. Of the children who begin puberty blockers, the medical literature suggests that approximately 95% move on to cross-sex hormones, and that 50% of the females who begin cross-sex hormone treatments move on to trans-affirming surgeries. These trans doctors are condemning legions of children to a lifetime of sorrows and medical necessities, all based on the dubious postmodern theories that do not meet the standard of the Hippocratic, oath, do no harm. A doctor at a children's hospital had this to say, that it affects the hypothalamus, part of the brain, affects a child's mind, body, and soul. I'm not going to be able to finish. Anyway, he said what this happens when they're given puberty blockers, it shuts down the system of the brain and shuts it down, making us non-human.
Thank you, Linda. Our next speaker is Eva Harrison.
Hello. Multiple articles came out in the last few weeks highlighting Capo USD's drop in attendance due to anti-parent policies. Schools have been directed by the California Department of Education when kids change names and pronouns to keep this a secret from parents. This is a policy, not a law. Schools think they're doing what's loving, what's kind, and call parental notification a forced outing policy, comparing it to outing a gay child. But children who take on a transgender identity are having acute distress with their natural bodies. That's completely different than sexual attraction. These kids are disengaging with their natural bodies. They need their parents to go through this. By secretly socially transitioning kids, schools are performing medical and mental health intervention by cutting parents out. I really hope you understand where social transitioning can lead and urge you to put a parental notification policy back on the vote. With everything that's coming out right now with the WPATH video leaks, psychologists and doctors clearly stating that children cannot fathom the long-term effect. If you don't know what that is, please look it up.
Will be Jean. Jean, please come forward. Go ahead, Jean.
Hi, board. First, before I get started, because I'll run out of time, I want to thank Lisa Davis for her standing up for parents, and I really appreciate that. What I did find as far as this whole transgender thing, I went back, there's a Lost in Transition, a guide supporting transgender students in K through 12 schools. This was written in 2015 by the National Education Association and the ACLU. What this does is it's actually promoting the education of children, very young children, all the way down to kindergarten. It says, in fact, in most cases, younger students are much more flexible in their thinking and capacity to understand a peer's assertion for their authentic gender. And it goes on to talk about your gender is, you can make up your own gender. It's crazy. And then it also points out that you got to keep this from parents. So it's very disturbing to me that the National Education Association promotes this.
Thank you, Jean. Our next speaker, Mike Bellini.
Thank you guys for listening to me. Here to talk about the inappropriate use of AI software and inappropriate images. My daughter, Isabella, is a 7th grader at Arroyo Vista, and she was victimized by a couple of students who created images of her and some other students back on March 4th. It's a long time ago. We just got an email this week sent out about the district condemning that kind of behavior. That's way too long to get in front of that. The prior person that mentioned her daughter at Aliso Viejo and mentioned the case in Beverly Hills, also Laguna Beach, Fairfax High School has one now, Calabasas had one. All of those cases, the district and or the school either took immediate action or issued immediate communication to the student body and to the parents. It didn't happen nearly quickly enough, in my opinion. I hope it's taken seriously going forward.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Shireen Smith.
Good evening, board members. Shireen Smith, former teacher, principal, and retired school superintendent, Laguna Beach Unified. I just wanted to share with you how impressed I am with Capistrano Unified special education programs. I had the opportunity on Friday to attend a California Retired Teachers Association's meeting, and we recognized Jim Miller, who owns Coffee Importers down in the harbor, and he works closely with the STEPS program at Dana Hills High School. It's an amazing program, amazing teachers, and the kids are able to get work experience there. Jim and his wife, Michelle Miller, who was a teacher also in Capo, have given $4,000 and have given coffee, as Brad Baker will say, all the time, gallons and gallons of coffee. But the bottom line is that program is a result of the investment by this school district in outstanding teachers, outstanding paraeducators, and the dedication to providing the best possible services to our students. And you are to be commended for that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michelle.
The First Amendment provides that Congress make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting its free exercise. It protects freedom of speech, the press, assembly, the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. When each of you took your oath, you agreed to hear constituents' speech and allow us to petition our grievances. When I first attended these meetings, I had 3 minutes to speak, which in my opinion is still limiting. Now you have not only limited our time to speak, but now you limit the total time allotted to 20 minutes. It is not lost on me how this board is violating our constitutional rights to speak about the policies enacted by this board. I also find it concerning that over the last few years, while many have decided to become more engaged and speak up, this board makes a draconian decision to violate freedom of speech and our constitutional rights. I would really like you to reconsider the policy and have it agendized to discuss before your constituents this matter. The one thing that Americans want more than ever is transparency.
Our next speaker is Lisa.
Hello. A lot has been revealed since CUSD was denied a parental notification policy last October. We went from why on earth are all these kids parading themselves one after another, declaring misguided pronouns and fictitious genders out loud in public, yet didn't want to be outed to their parents. What a bizarre night. You stacked the evening with students to fill up so that the experts that came in from miles could not speak on the importance of a parental notification policy. We have known for some time now that some of you on the board coordinated with the local LGBTQ organization in order to stack the parade and probably coach them as well. All this to stifle intelligent discourse from educational professionals? Why? But it's all explained here in this book, The Queering of the American Child. How new school religious cults poisons the minds of and bodies of normal kids.
Linda.
Please prove me wrong.
Linda R.
Good evening. More positive news regarding parental rights. The Idaho governor signed a bill protecting parental rights in medical decisions. Let's get California to do the same, starting with our own school. Parents know and love their child best and have the right and responsibility to direct the care and upbringing of their children regarding making decisions regarding their health care. Government officials and school boards are actively seeking to replace parents as the ultimate determiners of what's best for children. Parents are suing school districts after discovering that school officials have concealed the fact that their children identified as members of the opposite sex from their biological sex. School districts are driving a wedge between parents and their children, even by the use of pronouns and the changing of students' legal names. School staff members should only be using the student's legal name and the pronoun that corresponds to the student's sex assigned at birth. A parental rights notification policy needs to be in place. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Susie Taylor. Susie, come on.
Hi, I'm Susie Taylor. I'm here to talk more about Capistrano Coyotes ice hockey. I know that's everyone's favorite topic. Sorry, baseball lovers. Just wanted to let you know that our Capo Coyotes varsity team took third place in the state. 45,000 ice hockey players in high school hockey, 45,000 in the entire state. There are 11 teams for Anaheim Ducks, 7 for the LA Kings, 4 for the Sharks, and 28 other teams in the state of California, and our boys took third. So I want to give a shout out to our Capo Coyotes hockey. Someday, all of you will get to attend a game. But I want to give also a special shout out to our principal, Dr. Mahindakar, who came to the semifinal game and was our good luck charm, and we won. So thank you. Hope to see you next season.
Amber Smith.
Respectfully, Dr. Brown, I disagree with you somewhat on why the enrollment is down in our schools. As a parent during COVID, my eyes were open to what was being taught in our schools. The sexual material in our schools, whether it is an assignment, sex education, or sexually explicit material that is accessible to our kids. For example, at Dana High, the book Invisible Monsters is available to children 14 years old and up. Here's a small excerpt from the book. let's see. Oh, Evie's shouting about how she done found her, sorry, butt sucking, faggot assed new husband face down, enjoying butt sex with everybody's old boyfriend in the butler's pantry. I remember all his porno magazines and all the details of anal, oral, rimming, fisting, felching. You could put yourself in the hospital trying to self-suck. I had to look some of this stuff up. This is available to our children.
Our next speaker is Tina White.
Hi. Hi, I'm also talking about Dana Hill High School. I'm originally from the communist China, so I know a lot of things about how the government controls us and controls our school system. And the first hand, I didn't go through cultural revolution, but we had family members who were actually sent to jail, who were actually persecuted. My entire family industry, where when they were back in northern part of China, was completely wiped out because we were penniless when we arrived here. But anyway, there's this teacher. Her name is Coghills. She forced my son to read this book that is completely against his religion. And we went to the meeting last week and we pleaded to give us just another alternative book because Matthew is a really good reader and he wanted to read the book of his choice. But we were firmly denied. You know, they just won't allow us to do that. Here's the book. Everybody sees that. This is the book. I know. Here's the book. I just want to show you guys. It's called.
Thank you.
Their eyes were watching God. Has nothing to do with God. Let me tell you, it's full of sex, violence, and everything. And this is on the board.
Ms. Wong, the staff will follow.
We're gonna follow up with you.
Thank you. I like.
That concludes our speakers.
All right, thank you. We're now moving on to public hearing, California Connections Academy, Southern California Charter School Material Revision. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing regarding California Connections Academy, Southern California Charter School Material Revision. The time is now 7:53. At this time, would the individuals representing California Connections Academy, Southern California Charter School, please come to the podium?
President
We might pause for a second. Yeah.
People.
Yeah, we're gonna pause 1 second. Yeah. We're gonna pause. Yep. We sure are. Yes. Yeah, we know about. Okay, we're gonna try that again. At this time, would the individuals representing California Connections Academy of Southern California Charter School please come to the podium, state your name, introduce the presentation for this evening. Staff will now set the timer for 10 minutes for the presentation.
Thank you very much, President Castellanos, trustees, Superintendent Brown. Appreciate the time. I am here. My name is Dr. Richie Romero. I am here representing the organization. With me is someone we've already met, our Director of Family Outreach, Julie Columbero. Wonderful Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I'd like to send the regrets of our superintendent, Dr. Savage. He is very ill, and we thought it'd be best that he was not in a closed room with a lot of people of the public. First off, or secondly, or thirdly at this point, just a big thank you for the relationship with your organization and ours. It's been a long partnership, which we have valued and very much appreciate. I'm going to do just a quick rundown of why we're here tonight. And then if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. So our school first opened its doors in 2004. We, at the time, worked with Pearson Virtual Schools, which provided us as a vendor about 95% of our services. At the time, they were the main player in K-12 virtual education, and they served us well. We were successful in doing what we needed to do to advance student outcomes. Unfortunately, as time progressed, their tools struggled to keep up. And we found ourselves between sort of a rock and a hard place. We wanted to diversify, move beyond the tools provided by Pearson so that we could better meet the needs of our students. I know last month you saw a presentation and our data was included. We recognize it, we own it, and we want to make sure that we do the best job we can for our students. One step that we can do that is to move away from Pearson Virtual Schools and begin to partner with industry leaders such as Canvas, McGraw-Hill, Houghton Mifflin, Apex, name the provider, name the vendor that exists that is at the top cutting edge of their field. We now have access to them if we discontinue our relationship with Pearson. As a result, we're here tonight with our material revision to ask that you approve our name change. Connections Academy is owned by the vendor, Pearson Virtual Schools. We would like to change our name to California Online Public Schools, which is in line with the name of our nonprofit board, which runs our organization. So we are here tonight to respectfully ask that you consider our charter's material revision. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Do we have any speaker cards on? We do not. Okay, trustees? No questions? Okay. I don't think there's any questions.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no questions, the public hearing is now closed and the time is 7:57. Okay. You good, Ms. Hayes? Okay, discussion action items. We're now moving on to 13A, resolution number 2324-23. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Capistrano Unified School District approving a fourth amendment to the option to lease real property with Toll Brothers Incorporated and approving a development agreement with Toll Brothers and the city of Dana Point. May I have a motion to adopt resolution 2324-23, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Capistrano Unified School District approving a fourth amendment to the option to lease real property with Toll Brothers Incorporated and improving a development agreement with Toll Brothers Incorporated and the city of Dana Point. May I have a motion?
Moved. Second.
Moved by trustee Hanachek, seconded by trustee Davis. Okay. At this time, I'd like to recognize Clark Hampton, Deputy Superintendent, Business and Support Services, to present the item.
Thank you, President Castellanos. So this is a lease option agreement that this district has with Toll Brothers for the South Bus Yard. These two documents represent the Fourth Amendment to the lease agreement based on changes that the city has been making to the zoning application with Toll. And then also this includes a development agreement between Toll, the school district, and the city of Dana Point. Staff recommends approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hayes, do we have any speaker cards?
We have two speakers.
Okay.
Martha McNicholas and Katie Anderson. Martha, please come forward.
Good evening, trustees and superintendent and staff, especially Clark. I am so glad to see that this item has finally made it to the agenda without being pulled at the last minute. Some of us have been waiting a long time for this project to move forward. I know that it was not easy negotiating with the city. And while some of the specific entitlements, i.e. number of units, are not as beneficial as we had once hoped, but at least we got the city to agree that Dana Hills severely needs facility improvements funding. This will serve us well in the future. So I encourage you to support this amendment, this resolution and this amendment, and go see Les Mis at Dana Hills this weekend. It's fabulous. And imagine what it could be if it was in a real theater. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Katie Anderson.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Brown. Thank you so much. My name is Katie Anderson. I'm the former PTSA president and current Dolphin Foundation president at Dana Hills High School. I've been a resident of Dana Point for 20 years, and I'm so excited to see this on the agenda tonight. We've been waiting, this is one small piece of a much larger puzzle that desperately needs to help Dana Hills High School facilities. And I'm so happy probably Dr. Brown is tired of me asking in various meetings, so can we have an update on this? So I'm very, very happy to hear that there was, that you were all able to find compromise through this development agreement and be able to move this forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, trustees, any discussion? Trustee Hanachek?
I just have a comment. It has been a long time. And I want to applaud this board, previous boards, for recognizing how we must support our students and schools in a school district that has limited resources. And we went to bat, we took this property, and we have really ran with it. And I'm not going to go into the details, but it's super exciting to see an opportunity to better serve our schools, serve the public. And I'm really, really proud of this. And yes, Clark, thank you. It's very good. So I'm hoping that the board moves approval of this.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Pritchard? We do, yes. So Ms. Hayes, we've called any other trustees, any other comments? No? Okay, call the roll.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bullicus.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Jones is absent. Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Cassianis.
Aye. Motion carries 601 by a roll call vote with a preferential vote of aye from Student Board Member Pierce. All right, 13B, materials revision to charter of California Connections Academy, Southern California Charter School. Please note that the California Connections Academy, Southern California will get the same amount of time as the district staff to present the item. So may I have a motion to approve material revision to charter of California Connections Academy, Southern California Charter School. Moved by Trustee Parham, seconded by, I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. Trustee Davis, thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to recognize Greg Merwin, Associate Superintendent of Ed and Sports Services.
Thank you, President Castellanos. California Connections Academy, SoCal, has submitted a material revision in order to change their name and to update their operations to show independence from Connections Academy, which is doing business as, or DBA, Pearson Virtual Schools. California Online Public Schools, or CalOps, Governing Board has been in support of the charter school's name change and termination of their contract with Connections Academy of DBA Pearson. The Governing Board has been taking action on transition items since their February 28th, 2023 regularly scheduled board meeting. So the red line version of their charter petition includes the following edits. The name Connections has been changed to CalOps, Southern California, which is a logical new name as the charter school is operated by California Online Public Schools, a nonprofit corporation. The term live lessons has been changed to direct instruction. Any mention of Connexus has been changed to the Education Management System, or EMS. Any reference to the executive director has been replaced with the title of superintendent. And material revision also includes the different descriptions of any new requirements of charter schools enacted into law after the charter was originally granted and renewed. So these changes to the CalOps petition have been reviewed by our staff and by legal counsel, and therefore staff recommends the Board of Trustees approve the material revision to the charter of California Connections Academy, Southern California Charter School. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, I would also like to invite the individuals representing California Connections Academy, Southern, you guys have a long name, Southern California Charter School, to come to the podium, CalOps. If you have additional information to present, you get the same amount of time.
We appreciate it, Rita.
Okay, thank you. All right, any speakers? There are none. Okay, trustees, any discussion? No? Okay, then I think, can we do a voice vote on this, or are we gonna roll call? Oh, we're roll calling. We can do a voice vote. Oh. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. This carries 601 by a voice vote with a preferential vote of aye from Student Board Member Pierce. Okay, thank you very much. We are now moving on to 13C, Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators. May I have a motion to approve the Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators? So moved. Moved by trustee Bullicus, seconded by trustee Hanachek. At this time, I'd like to recognize Bob Presby, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources.
Thank you, President Castellanos. Staff brings the declaration for highly qualified educators for the 24-25 school year. This is an annual requirement that allows the district to hire teachers on a short-term staff permit or emergency credential when after a recruitment does not produce an adequate number of qualified candidates. This does not indicate that the district will be required to hire on short-term permits or emergency credentials, just will allow the district to do that in hard-to-fill positions. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Any speakers on this item? No speakers. Okay, trustees, discussion? Okay, well, you guys are quiet tonight. Okay, we can do a voice vote on this one as well. All right. All is in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries 6-0-1 by a voice vote with a preferential vote of aye from student board member Pierce. We are now moving on to 13D on the agenda. Instructional materials recommended for adoption by the Instructional Materials Review Committee. May I have a motion to approve the instructional materials recommended for adoption by the Instructional Materials Review Committee? A motion? Moved by trustee Hanachek, seconded by trustee Bullicus. At this time, I'd like to recognize Greg Merwin, Associate Superintendent of Ed Services.
Thank you again, President Castellanos. Staff presents item 13D, instructional materials recommended for adoption by the Instructional Materials Review Committee. The IRMRC has recommended four items for your consideration this evening. Classroom mathematics by iReady K5, peer physics, and 2 advanced placement study guides. So for classroom mathematics, staff has created a brief presentation to share with you this evening regarding the pilot teacher data and the rationale behind the recommendation that comes before you this evening. Assistant Superintendent Carrie Johnson and STEM Coordinator Karen Gauthier will now guide you through a very brief presentation. And Dr. Johnson, please proceed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Merwin. And not to shortchange high school physics or AP comp sci study guides, we're only going to be presenting on elementary math, and we're very excited to be presenting classroom mathematics by iReady for adoption. Next slide, please. First, I just want to make sure and differentiate between what you're familiar with, which is the online iReady Math Diagnostic and the MyPath lessons. Those live solely online and on Chromebooks, but I want to make sure that we understand that the classroom mathematics is actually physical books, and the teachers can teach and students can engage in classroom mathematics the entire school year without ever touching a Chromebook or a computer if so needed. It can be augmented with online supports, but it is a traditional in-class text. Next slide, please. So just a brief overview of the pilot process. We had elementary teachers pilot 2 sets of math curricula from August 2023 to December 2023. Each set of a curriculum was piloted for 8 weeks. This included 51 teachers from 24 elementary schools. And it was great because we had a good distribution between primary and upper grades. So we had 26 teachers from K through 2, and then 25 teachers from 3rd through 5th. Then on January 16th, we actually engaged in a review of all the material. We had the Irvine Math Project facilitate a review of the data and also the scope of the pilot. And we used protocols to ensure that all teachers that piloted had a voice and participated in this overview and making sure that all voices were heard. Next slide, please. So here you have 87% of the pilot teachers who were at that facilitation meeting voted in favor of classroom mathematics by iReady, or 39 teachers, whereas 13% of the teachers voted for Imagine Learning, that was 6 teachers. And the question we put before them was, choose the curriculum you feel best fits all students and all teachers. Next slide, please. Now, this is information that actually came out after the decision was made, but just reinforces that the pilot teachers made the correct choice. Classroom mathematics was the only elementary curriculum that received a perfect score from Ed Reports. Ed Reports is a nonprofit organization that seeks to make sure that the best curriculum is available to school districts with impartial and objective reviews. I will now hand it over to Karen Gauthier.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Fancy slide, please. I'm excited that I get to talk about math. So we're gonna look at some data here. So when we asked teachers in the evaluation toolkit that we developed the questions alongside our teachers. So they had a clear understanding of what they were looking for in materials that aligned to the math framework, but also aligned to our district needs. And so the first data point was about conceptual understanding. And this involves student sense making with varied approaches and representations of their mathematical thinking that eventually leads to procedural fluency. So we can see that the vote for classroom mathematics was a 95% in agreement, and Imagine Learning is 81%. The next slide, please. Math discourse and reasoning is supporting students in constructing viable arguments and critiquing the reasoning of others. That skill is heavily tested on our state testing and CASP, SBAC, either version you want to call it, either acronym. And students are expected to be able to make sense of other ways that other students make sense of math. That is a college and career readiness standard and expectation from our math practices. And so you can see that the vote was 93% in favor of classroom mathematics. Next slide, please. The next one was about differentiation. And so we were looking at, do the materials offer support and scaffolding for students that are ready for an acceleration point or an extension deeper into the standards of their grade level, as well as intervention. So we really focused on our PLC process and our critical questions around what do we do when students don't understand, and how do we support students that have already mastered content. Additionally, we looked at extension, as I alluded to before, but also special education. How did it support our special education teachers, our ed specialists that were part of the pilot process? Did the materials support them in teaching to grade level standards to support students to make up gaps in their learning? Because we know if we teach below grade level, we never make up that gap. And so you can see that the data supports 96% in favor of classroom mathematics. Next slide, please. Oops, one more back. So that one, thank you. English learners. So we looked at the materials from the lens of how does it support teachers to scaffold language supports for English learners at varying language proficiency levels. And so our teachers noticed in classroom mathematics that wherever the most dense language supports were needed in a lesson, that it offered supports for scaffolding language for students that were emerging English learners, or expanding English learners, or bridging English learners. It wasn't just a one size fits all, have students use this language support. It was very specific to their language proficiency level. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about classroom mathematics and the things that our teachers found so valuable in the published materials is this try, discuss, connect routine. And so it engages our students in discussing and comparing different strategies to solve a problem. It allows them the time to think critically about the math ideas through these various language routines. I thought I would bring a math problem tonight, maybe try it with all of you and discuss it with all of you, and then we would connect our thinking in various ways. Don't worry, I didn't bring any. But if I did, it would be fractions in 5th grade. That's where the heaviest load is. So the next slide, please. So iReady is cognitively guided instruction. And so we've spent a lot of time since 2016 supporting our teachers in shifting the way that they teach math that puts student sense making at the forefront before that procedural fluency in the way that we all learned math. And so teachers that piloted this said, wow, I've always tried to teach that way, but I struggled with it. I struggled with how do I select and sequence student thinking? And this material supports them in doing it because it helps them anticipate what they might see. So if I'm a teacher at a grade level that I haven't taught before, and I'm like, I'm going to give this problem to students, I can't anticipate how they're going to solve it yet. So I'm letting student sense making come before procedural. It helps them and supports them and gives them ideas. So we are very excited. Our teachers are excited. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Ms. Hayes, any speaker? No speakers. Oh, okay. Trustees.
So I have the benefit of hearing the customer feedback from iReady as I take 4th and 5th graders to school and bring them home every day. And these test bunnies are not necessarily of the same support that we have here. As I have no doubt that this is an effective tool. My concern for their behalf is the frustration that sets in when they're not solving something and they feel like this is a test and that they're being evaluated, when that's not necessarily accurate. But I think that's the perception that kids have. And we have to do a better job letting them know that that they're not failing this when it takes them an extra couple of minutes or days even to get through the diagnostic. But that frustration is real for a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old. And it's like me when I get to the 5th line on Wordle and I don't have it yet. I'm bonkers. These are kids and they're used to being tested and getting a grade and feeling they either succeeded or they failed. And, some kids, it takes 2 or 3 days to get through what other kids are finishing in 1 day. And everybody knows who's moved on to the next module. So maybe we can find a way to discuss with the children how this is a tool and it's not an exam. But I'm concerned about that side.
So just to clarify, definitely those concerns are very valid for the iReady diagnostic exams. I want to just be sure for the public that we're clear that iReady diagnostics exams, and can you go back to the first slide, second slide? Second slide. Just to make sure we're all speaking the same language. So on the left side of this slide, what you have is what's called the iReady diagnostic math exam and my path personalized learning. This the district has had for a while now. So when your kids come home and say, I have to do iReady, this is what they're talking about. It's the stuff on the left. And when they're taking a test that might take some students 1 day and other students multiple days, they know the modules. That's the test on the left. It is actually not linked to the classroom mathematics on the right. So what we're talking about today, the adoption of the mathematics lesson is completely offline. It's not an online process. It's not test-based process. It's not a diagnostic exam. It's actually a curriculum. In fact, I believe, and iReady will probably correct me, that they're looking to change the name of it to not call it iReady so that they themselves, because this confusion comes up a lot, because they themselves want to separate it because it's not related to the diagnostic exam. This is actual sort of traditional. We're in class, we're working with the teacher through a problem. We've got a workbook. We're getting together and discussing math problems. It's completely offline. Now, there is online support that can be used, but it doesn't have to be. So I just want to be clear that even I already understands that clarity is not always there. So that's, left, right. Sorry.
Fair enough, but my point stands still that we can work with the students to coach them on this. Thanks.
Trustee Bolkus.
I appreciate that clarity because when it was pointed out that there's books, I was excited. Riley Elementary School was one of the first test pilots years ago. Would that be before COVID? I'm not even sure at this point. Everything's measured before or after. I went and I saw different grade levels using iReady. And where I'm going with this is I was so excited and I have spoke positively about it for all these years. Last year I was at Arroyo Vista Middle School for Career Day. And they had me have a booth and you could ask the trustee anything. And I had 2 students come up to tell me how much they disliked iReady. I was like, what? In terms of excitement about the books, and since then, I've continued to hear it. Because of Chromebooks or being, told to use their, Chromebooks in class and all, I've heard some feedback from kids who don't want to do iReady on the computer. And I've heard that also in high school and other subjects, which I'll talk about another time. But my point of view is the balance of what is on computer. And I love the fact it's intuitive and all the good reasons that it helps an individual progress. But the balance of what we use in books and that interactive engagement, getting that classroom instruction from the teacher versus being on a computer, I think we're still trying to find our way. Some teachers are probably even more successful at it in terms of that balance and figuring out what their kids need. But I think we need to continue to work with our teachers in that, to get the best instruction in class and measurement of the kids grasping math concepts.
Sorry, trustee Davis.
Thank you. I just want to see if we can get staff to speak a little bit on the teacher-directed lessons by iReady or online instruction. And if we are taking math tests, paper, pencil, or everything is assessed iReady.
They have options for both. So you can give the digital assessment or you can give it paper pencil and the teacher corrects it. Is that what you're asking about in the curriculum we're talking about tonight, not the diagnostic?
Right, and how about the teacher-directed lessons? Are kids on the computer? Are they doing work where it's being taught that way, or is the expectation that we are having teacher-directed lessons?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the whole first part of the lesson with that try it, discuss it, connect it. There's students working collaboratively. They're on whiteboards. They're generating their own ideas. There's no computer. The teacher has slides to use to facilitate her lesson, his or her lesson, but it's not a student on a computer at all.
Student board member Pierce.
Yeah, I just, for math, for me, like throughout my experience with math, I always love it when there's like a physical textbook when I'm doing math equations, or like something where I can open and write down and jot down notes on the side. And I know that a ton of other students feel the same way about that. I love it in class now, especially after COVID. There's a lot of shift towards digital learning and Canvas and all these assignments that we have to digitally turn in by turning in photos and uploading PDF files. And personally, and a lot of other students talk to me about this, and it's like the relief of being able to do assignments on paper and physically turning it in, or being able to listen to a teacher lecture in front of you is something that's very important, especially in math for me. And I know it echoes throughout multiple students. And so, yeah, I love the idea of having the option of physical textbooks for math. I think it's amazing.
Tyler, I appreciate you sharing that, because that's what I've heard from most every student, especially.
It's like math. I love to be able to do the equations on the side. Like there's just, I mean, it's hard to explain it, but it's just overall, I noticed for basically everyone, I don't know anyone who really likes to take online courses.
Yeah, thank you. There's a group of students that have been trying to put together a petition against iReady and the iReady homework because they are so tired of the online portion. So I appreciate that comment, and that the expectation is that we are having teacher-directed lessons. And I'm hoping that there's some homework that is also pen and paper rather than everything on a screen, especially to our students' point tonight and what's happening with students and their vision because of screens. So I appreciate that we're keeping that in consideration and that we're helping share out with staff that is important to us. It's important to me as a board member, and that's because I've heard it from hundreds of students that is the exact reason. Thank you.
We have the materials in the back if you would like to look at them. When we first got the materials to pilot over a year ago, that we were shocked by how thick the workbooks were. And at first we were like, wow, those are really thick. And the reason they're so thick is there's lots of space for kids to write and share their thinking and write notes and share notes. So it's not just all this compacted print, which would have created about half the size of a student workbook. So there's plenty of space to write notes and show thinking and yes, and show your work. Yes. Show your work.
Trustee Hanachek, did you have a comment?
Yes, so I remember the discussion as we really started to go towards CGI math, and I've seen it in action at the elementary level. And as a non-math person, it was dazzling to me. And I think the ultimate goal, and just to check back in with you as the professionals and our teaching professionals, we were having challenges in this district, probably many districts, of children moving along without mastery. And where, at least in my young people, my children's era, it was the old Algebra 2 trig. they would just stop. And somehow they just, an attentive student, a student that does their work, that we get move along, and they weren't getting it. And so I'm really hopeful with this, and I know you all have the data around this and what this will look like for our young people going forward, that they won't have that happening, that at each level, they are going to have the opportunity to really coherently understand and not skim. And then where, they turn their head and it's gone. They can't remember it. So I'm excited about this. I love the feedback that you have given us. This looks amazing. And yes, Tyler, I get it. You want a tactile ability to write through and get through it. And I really enjoy that view. So thank you all.
Okay. All right, we can do a voice vote on this as well. So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 601 by a voice vote with a preferential vote of aye from student board member Pierce. We are now moving on to consent calendar. Please note per board policy 9323, in accordance with the law, the public has a right to comment on any consent item. At the request of any member of the board, any item on the consent agenda shall be removed and given individual consideration for action as a regular agenda item. Each speaker is allotted between 1 and 3 minutes per item, depending on the number of individuals to speak. Okay, Ms. Hayes, we have 2 speakers. Okay.
Our first speaker is Jessica Geyer and then Christina Blevins. Go ahead.
Good evening, Superintendent Brown, President Castellanos, trustees, and student board member Pierce. PTAs and PTSAs across our district have donated $79,101.82 this month to support our students. Things like rechargeable batteries for speakers, outdoor science camp, a storage shed, 4th grade field trips, assemblies and supplies, school branding, and transportation fees. Our PTAs aren't very good at tooting their own horns as to how they are supporting and maintaining programs at their sites. So I think it's worth recognizing that PTAs donate on a very conservative average about $1 million a year to our school sites for a variety of different programs, supplies, and needs, things like updating libraries, furniture, marquees, and field trips. I think it's also important to understand this because as we enter into a very dismal budgetary year or years, PTA is committed to balancing our mission as an advocacy organization. Remember, I'm the one that gets up here and says we aren't a fundraising organization, no bake sales, but trying to balance that with our desire to help sustain current programs that benefit all of our students at our sites. So here's the membership plug for the month. If you aren't a member at your student's school site, please join today so that you can be a part of the good work that is happening at your site. Being a member allows you the opportunity to have a voice in the decisions being made to fund programs, events, etc. And we can't do this good work without you and all our members. So go to jointotem.com or visit your school's official website for information on how to contact your school's PTA. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Up next is Christina Blevins.
Hello, good afternoon. Good evening, I guess. My name is Christina Blevins. I'm with First 5 Orange County, and I'm here to speak on behalf of item 14B in your giant list of potential agreements with First 5 to continue our next 3 years of funding. I'm just here to really thank you guys for the partnerships that we've had year after year. First 5 Orange County has established partnerships with our school districts for 25 years. Unfortunately, First 5 is funded by tobacco tax. Less people are smoking, which is great, but that means we have less money to do what we do with First 5 funding. So you will notice that our agreement this time is less than it has been in the past, but we do appreciate your continued partnership. Specifically, our new agreement will focus on community engagement, reaching out to the little ones in your neighborhoods, get them to your school so then they enroll and stay and get your ADA up, hopefully over the years. There is a decrease in childbirth, which also affects our funding. Orange County is the 4th largest county in the state of California, so we get the 4th largest pot. But with people moving out, it's kind of impacting some of that work. Additionally, we participate with your early learning team, which is Lauren Patullo, and she's amazing and has done a great job expanding your early learning program and services to the families in your community. So kudos to her and your team. You guys are doing an amazing job. Finally, our partnership will continue to collect the early development index data. You may have seen it. We will be collecting it again next school year. This gives us a percentage of kinder readiness. Across the county, we have 54% of our children ready for kindergarten. And you could probably get your districts. I didn't pull the number, I'm sorry, but you could pull that from Lauren if you'd like to see what your district's readiness level is. So we are hoping to see an increase in that next year as we've been really funneling efforts into getting our little ones 0 to 4 ready before they come into the classroom in kindergarten. So thank you again for your time and your continued partnership, and I hope to see that approved in the consent calendar items. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Trustees, any items that you'd like to pull? Trustee Davis?
Yes, I'd like to pull 15D, 16E, 17B, and 17C.
Okay, hold on. 15D,
16E,
16E,
17B,
17B,
17C.
17C. Thank you. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar, except the items that Trustee Davis just mentioned, 15D, 16E, 17B, and 17C? Okay, moved by Trustee Davis, seconded by Trustee Olakus. And I believe can we do a voice vote on this? Well, roll calling. Roll call. Roll call. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Student Board Member Pierce left the meeting. Trustee Bilikus.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Jones is absent. Trustee Pritchard. Trustee Hanachek. Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. 601, motion was approved by roll call vote to approve the consent calendar, except the items that were mentioned by Trustee Davis, 15D, 16E, 17B, and 17C. All right, we are now moving on to 15D. Trustee Davis.
Just would like to have staff kind of go over each of these. We'll start with 15D.
So 15 is needed cash flow advance. So with CCA is a separate entity from the school district, and they're funded primarily with grant funding and pass-through money that the school district provides. One of their large items of funding is the CTIC grant from the state of California. And while they were waiting for that grant, they just, as like the school district sometimes needs to borrow short-term for cash flow purposes. They needed to get an advance on their next year's pass-through from the school district to meet cash flow needs. And we actually just received a notification that the CT grant is ready to fund. So we just recently signed the forms for that. So that's the purpose of this item.
And Clark, we've done that in the past for CCA.
Yeah, we did it a
Yeah.
couple of years ago.
So it's kind of, is the way it goes, it's common practice.
Okay, so no more questions? Okay, so then I need a motion for 15D.
I move approval.
Okay, moved by Trustee Davis, seconded by Trustee Parham. Are you gonna roll? Voice vote, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, 601. Now move on to 16E. Trustee Davis?
The same, if staff could please go over each.
Okay.
Right.
16E.
16E is the Fifth Amendment for the Joint Powers Agreement between Laguna Beach and us regarding CCA. So the current or the Fourth Amendment Joint Powers Agreement between Laguna Beach and Capo regarding CCA, because it's a joint powers ROP. The executive director position of that group was to be recommended by the Capo Superintendent, obviously reports to the board of CCA, but any removal would be at the discretion or would be done by the Capo superintendent. There was a critical employment piece left out of there, which was evaluation. And so the Fifth Amendment puts the evaluation of the director under the Capo superintendent with the support and direction of the CCA board. So that way, if a removal does need to be made in the future, there's the proper evaluation and process to support that person before they're removed. So it puts the charge of hiring and firing aligned to the person then who evaluates that person. Other than that, there is no other changes in the amendment.
Okay, any other questions?
I just have a comment on that. I so appreciate the work that you have all done on this. It's truly helpful. It was too wild west. There was not a formalized evaluation process. I just got on the board last year after having been off for a while. So we made some attempts at it. So I really appreciate this. This is an excellent organization, our CCA, our CTE arm of CUSD, and the clarity is very welcomed. So thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion? Moved by trustee Parham, second? Second. Seconded by trustee Bolkus. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 601. We're now moving on to 17B. Would like to clarify. Clarification needed.
Yeah, so 17B is job description and salary steps for the executive director of CCA. The position is commensurate in workload with a high school principal position in Capo. So this changes the pay structure to be commensurate with high school principal at Capo. They oversee students at all of our high schools. They have a big master schedule to build. And while they don't have sports, they do have board meetings to attend. They have after school events to attend. They have grants to write, and they have a budget responsibility that's in excess of what a traditional principal is. So staff feels it's fair to put that as the same salary as a current high school principal. So it's a small financial change of about $12,000 a year, funded by CCA and by Capo, as the person is partly a Capo employee.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I need a motion. Moved by trustee Hanachek, second. Seconded by trustee Bolkus. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 601. We're now moving on to 17C for clarification.
So this is the subsequent item. So the first one was the job description. Second was the salary schedule. Sorry, I explained them both in one go, but this is the actual salary schedule. You have to approve them separately.
Okay, moved by trustee Parham, seconded by trustee Hanachek. All right.
Just felt it was important that we went over those, and I would have preferred something like that to not be in consent, but rather part of the discussion.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 601. There being no further business before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved by trustee Davis, seconded by trustee Bolkus. May all those in favor say aye, please? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We are adjourning the meeting. The time is now 8:40. Thank you.